So I decided to go for a little bit of a walk in these woods. I won't tell you exactly where I am. In a few weeks' time, you'll be able to see that this whole woods will be covered in bluebells. The whole floor of the wood will be blue. It's quite spectacular. I remember seeing it for the first time when I was a child because I grew up around here, and I'd often go for walks with members of my family, and sometimes the school would bring us for outings. It was always a very peaceful place. So you can see the floor of the wood. It's fairly barren now. All you can really make out are kind of dried leaves and old trees, but in a few weeks' time, if I came and visited again, you'd see the entire floor covered in bluebells. We've actually missed the snowdrops. Snowdrops appear a little bit earlier in the year because it's the 2nd of March now, but you don't see them as frequently as you used to. So this weekend I've been thinking a lot about what it takes to be happy and what I could do to make my life happier. I've kind of forgotten much of what it takes to be happy. I lost that kind of childlike enthusiasm for getting up and being excited for the day ahead. I suppose that comes with being an adult too. You get up every day and you have to go to work. Now, I'm quite lucky. My job is not that bad. It's a 9 to 5 job and it has flexible hours. So it could be a lot worse. The pay isn't great, but I'm not doing shifts or working during the night. And it has given me a kind of stability that I hadn't ever thought I would achieve. So there's that. As I was saying, my life just became about survival, the grind, and I wasn't really getting anywhere in terms of, happiness. And I could never really feel that I had been successful, no matter what I did, because nothing I was doing was making me any happier. And I think that's really the crux of the whole problem, really. How can we be satisfied with what we're doing in life if we're completely miserable and unhappy? And I think, as much as I've thought about what I should do with my life, I think that question is nearly a kind of a stupid question. It's not really about what we should do with our lives, but how can we be happy? And I know it seems like a bit of a cliche, but what else is there? Meaning is a bit of a red herring. I don't think people really want meaning. The more I've studied meaning, the more I've come to understand it to be an empty ambition. Our lives aren't everlasting, and there is no singular meaning to anything that we do. The meaning of our actions changes from moment to moment. We can't really hold on to our own significance in any way. It tends to vanish along with the years and along with the memories. I was sitting in a cafe today after buying some shoes because my old shoes were starting to fall apart. That's just the way shoes are now. They don't make them like they used to. And I was thinking, personal happiness, family happiness, community happiness, if we want to have a good life and we want to be satisfied and content, we have to let go of a lot of this extra stuff that we carry around, like the unanswerable question of how do I live a meaningful, significant life. I remember I saw a YouTuber once who was talking about how our pursuit of significance is actually the greatest threat to our happiness and our satisfaction in life. Because we like to think of meaning and significance as being these virtuous goals to have. But they actually end up causing us the most amount of pain and unnecessary suffering. I used to think that I had to have an extraordinary life in order to justify the suffering of my past. I felt and believed that everything that I had endured as a child and as a teenager had to be somehow vindicated or redeemed by something that I could do. But we can't save ourselves. We can't work for our own salvation, even the salvation of our younger selves. The losses that we endure in life can't be recouped. We can create something new, but we can't get back what we've lost. And so the real opportunity is, how can we be wiser in the present? How can we tell a different story? And what kind of characters will we have in our story? And will it be a happy one? I think everyone wants to have a happy story. You know, one of the benefits of being out in nature is just realizing how non-judgmental it is. The trees and the mice and the plants and the earth don't really care very much whether we're living a significant life or whether we're having a meaningful impact on the world. In fact, I think the earth and all of its denizens would be much happier if we weren't as significant and meaningful as we are, and if we were content to simply live a happy life free of complications and demands and ambitions and goals. I think the world would probably be a healthier place, a cleaner place. So this is a little stream. Just existing out here on its own. It's one of those little hidden features of the world around us that we often overlook. It continues on this side. You probably have to maneuver yourself to see it in action. It's one of those things that you never quite understand about the world until you see it for yourself. Things just happen. They just exist. I think a lot of our trouble would disappear if we didn't believe that we had to make things happen. If we could let go of the expectation that it was our responsibility to keep the world in motion. It isn't. The world happens regardless of whether we're involved in it or not. And there's freedom in recognizing that we don't have to be the ones to keep it all together, that we're free to just exist. So when I talk about happiness, I'm not talking about pleasure. I'm not talking about hedonism. Instead, what I mean is a state of mind, a peace of mind that comes from knowing that we don't have to do anything special. We don't necessarily need to identify with any particular outcome. We're often told that we need to take responsibility, that it's our job to fix something, that we have to somehow achieve an effect in the world. And that's all well and good. If you're at a point in your life where you're not getting much done and you have a very low level of personal effectiveness, then the argument can be made that you need to take responsibility in order to increase your personal effectiveness. But for someone who has done all of that and ticked all of those boxes already, what comes next? So I'm climbing this hill, and it's a very steep hill. It doesn't take very long to get to the top, and it plateaus out at the very end, and it starts to go back downhill again. Responsibility is like climbing this hill. It'll get you somewhere, but it's not really the point. The point isn't really to get somewhere. The point is to recognize that it's possible to get somewhere, but that it's not really absolutely necessary. Once you get to the top of the hill, you have to come back down again. It makes a person wonder, what was the point of ever climbing it in the first place? And of course, the obvious answer is, well, we have to work in order to survive. That's probably the only thing that we can say is true about work, because we have to earn a living. But I think the real damage comes when we start to think about work as something that is necessary for the moral quality of our life. That we start to think of work as a way of justifying ourselves, feel like we have significance. The fact that we already exist means that we don't have to buy our way into life. It's not something that we have to bargain for. We don't have to prove anything. But the way that we're conditioned to believe about work and career, we somehow have to continuously justify our existence through effort, by proving that we deserve to be here and that we deserve recognition. You can see how that manipulation is designed deliberately to control us. Someone who has given up the pursuit of significance is an enlightened person. It's about recognizing this moment of life that we live, and we're here for a very brief time. It has already been bought and paid for. There's nothing more we can do to prove that we should be here. The ticket has already been redeemed.